Now that I'm really identifying what parts of me or like what expressions that I have and stuff that are autistic, it's becoming easier for me to recognize when I get to just like really be myself. And I got to watch rugby yesterday, a Thunderbird Cup in Lamont, Illinois. I'm like gonna cry. It's ridiculous, but rugby is my passion. And my whole life I've had passions. And I've been told I'm extremely passionate about the things that I'm passionate about. You know, that special interest level passion where it's like everything that you think about. And that is how I am with rugby. When I was growing up, I was raised really religious in a Pentecostal church, Church of God, and very similar to Assemblies of God. So if you have that like upbringing, you would understand too. Um, but I was so passionate about my faith. It's all I knew, and it is where I invested everything. I've always been like a deep diver when it comes to the Bible and studying. So since I was a kid, I would be like deep diving, the word meanings. I always had my dictionary, my concordance, Bible dictionaries, Bibles with a lot of footnotes and descriptions, like the Dake's Bible, um, where I would really deep dive into the text. And I've always been a word person like that, a poet, a writer, and understanding where the words came from and stuff is what I've done my whole life. That was like my passion. In fact, when I left faith, there was definitely like an emptiness there because it was my special interest. And so now that I'm looking at my life through my autistic lens instead of just being a passionate person, these kinds of things are very different. Now I see the intensity. I see how much things mean to me and why. And with church, with God, with that text, it gave me a structure for my life. And it gave me a connecting subject. And so this is the part of special interest that I want to talk about as a 40-year-old, almost 41, late diagnosed autistic woman. Special interests for me are about connection. Because I also have ADHD and I'm extroverted. I don't just want to have a personal special interest that I just do all alone. I need somebody to talk to about it. I need it to have some kind of life expression and parallel in the world for me to like really embrace what it is. When I got lost in jumping spiders last year, it was a small world that I could escape to and connect with another living being and talk to people about it, but it was more personal because I was going through really, really bad burnout. And the only energy that I had was to take care of these jumping spiders. And they were like my escape, right? But rugby gave me an entire community. And I wasn't weird for being obsessed with it. In fact, the more obsessed with rugby you were, the better you were at it, right? Like, the more I knew about it, the more I studied it, the more I understood it, the more I could play it, the more I practiced it, the better I was, the more connections I was making. I mean, I've connected with women over the last 12 years that are all around like different states and specifically the Midwest, where I've played against these women for 10 years, right? And going into it and meeting new rookies and stuff over the years too, and being someone who has been around for a while, having information, knowing what the history of other clubs are and who's played for how long and what position and all of those things that I've just kind of gathered over the years as a long-term player. I've played for 10 years now. It like it gave me like history and connection and support and something to do with my body. Um and that's another thing about religion, if you make this connection too, was now the way that I regulate my body is doing rugby stuff. Physically, like running, doing things with my body to regulate it, or researching it, studying it, like planning what I'm going to do next with rugby, being a part of the like being a leader in some way, right? Or being a part of the like having a chair. I can't think of the word. The administrative aspect of everything. Club management, that kind of stuff. Like that was how I like would get through the seasons where I'm not actually playing. I would still obsessively be all about rugby even on the off seasons. And like with church, with my very first indoctrinated passion, my very first indoctrinated special interest, I sang and I did drama, and every worship service and every song I sang at home and worship sessions I had at home, those were regulatory for my body because they utilized core beliefs. I was able to move. I was able to vocal stim constantly. I always had music on, always had worship music on, or was singing worship in some kind of way. The trauma of all of that and the emotional impact of music really like stripped that from me when I left religion, because it was like triggering that I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music. And then all I knew was worship music, but worship music itself was kind of triggering after I realized like how impactful and effed up my indoctrination actually was. So there was a lot that I left behind, but when I left that behind, I left behind all of those things that regulated me over the years. And I don't know if other autistic people who have left faith would relate to that. I think that they would, though, that it makes sense that like I was an active worshiper. I wasn't just in the back like humming. I ended up leading the youth worship for a while, and I was a drama director, and a lot of music was involved in all of that too with the dramas that we did. We did a lot of human videos. If you're familiar with that church culture and what those things look like, just like music videos to religious songs. And then that part of like regulating myself, it was like an emotional dumping every Sunday, every Wednesday, Tuesday night prayers, Friday night get-togethers with people in the church, not to mention like very, like having like Sunday school and then actual church and then Sunday night church. Like I got to engage in this regulatory system for myself that did not make it obvious that I was autistic, because I was very active and I was just considered on fire for God, right? Extremely passionate. One of those people where like being involved in rugby, it's like if everybody loved rugby like you love rugby, we wouldn't be hurting for people. If everybody loved God like you love God, Summer, if everybody that came through these doors believed like you believed, and the same thing goes for almost everything that I'm passionate about, because I get sucked in and it becomes my monotropic focus. It's the thing that I think about. It's the thing that regulates me. It's where my community comes from. It's where I find purpose and passion. Like it's all in that special interest, and that is what autistic people do. That is how we function. And I'm just like making these connections as I look back at my life, and it's neat, but it's also like I don't really feel like I connect with people very well unless there is a special interest connection. Like if you don't love rugby and we're going to have conversations, I'm going to have to find like one of my little side pocket passions in order to connect. And psychology has always been a main one too. So I tend to like talk to people about like their own personalities and stuff like that, and like psychology aspects of relationships. So I do get to have really good communication, even though I would just love to play rugby and talk about it constantly and nothing else.